Welcome to In Your 20s podcast. My name is Jody Ann, and I'm your host for today. This podcast is all about the journey of your 20s, navigating the ups and downs of figuring out yourself for the first time. Today, joining us is Paige Hamel, who has an exciting story about getting over the expectations she put on herself in her 20s, figuring out who she is, traveling, and even getting through a relationship, and also starting her own practice. So I'm so excited for her to share her story with you all. Welcome, Paige.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So yes, your story was so great. I'm so great that you reached out to me and just shared a little bit about your journey. And I'm pretty sure it can relate to somebody listening. And how's your afternoon been so far?
Yes, so far so good. Yeah, slow day so far. So yeah, just getting into it.
Nice, nice. Okay. So let's continue that good day. And I guess start
Great.
off by hearing a little bit about the journey of your 20s. So to start off, how old are you? Like where are you now currently in your age range?
Yeah, I'm 30. I just turned 30, I guess 7 months ago now. Yeah.
Oh, well, happy belated, even though you're probably like, I'm
It
well
feels
in
like
now.
closer to my 31st, but thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I can't believe that I'm actually 30 is the thing. So, but here I am.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you just left. You just said goodbye to your 20s. So now you're like, hello, 30s. So this, I feel like this is the perfect timing to look back and say, what have I done? So I guess
Yeah.
we can start off with take me back to 18-year-old Paige. What was that
Oh,
like?
that poor girl.
Graduating high school and saying, okay, look out, world. I'm out here. I'm an adult. So what was that
Yeah.
like?
It was tumultuous to say the least. Yeah, I had really some rough teenage years. Lots of issues with my family, was in a really, really toxic, abusive relationship in my teens. And so I'd finally gotten out of that. And I was, yeah, just freshly graduated high school, and there was some growing pains with some friendships. I mean, just I think any teenager, trying to find yourself.
Mhm.
And I had the opportunity to go on this 3 month long trip to Southeast Asia. It was like a student travel gap year group. And it was so transformative for me. And it allowed me to kind of process what my years have been so far. But then it also introduced me to a lot of different ideas and different cultures. Like it was Thailand, India, and Nepal, so entirely different from Canada. And it just blew my mind how just the whole world is different than what I had known.
Yeah.
And so it really piqued my interest in terms of Buddhism and Hinduism and just the diversity of cultural richness that um exists. And so it really planted a lot of seeds for me.
Mm.
And so heading into my 20s, I definitely got bit by that travel bug. And so I had incorporated a lot more traveling, and then continued to grow in that spirituality that had been planted. Um, but it was, yeah, they 18, 19, 20. I mean, probably up until 25 were years with lots of poor decision making, but they were decisions that were made with me thinking I was, embodying this free, independent woman. Like I can make my own decisions. I know what I want, and I think in a lot of ways I did know what I want,
Mhm.
or I did know what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get there, and I didn't really have the support to get there, or I
Yeah.
didn't have anyone really sit down with me and be like, okay, who are you? What are your passions? What do you want to pursue in life? What is important to you? And so I just kind of went along with what society and my family wanted me to do, which was go to university.
Mm.
And I went into social and cultural anthropology,
Oh, okay.
which was great because it was actually when I was on that trip, one of the girls I was traveling with, she was like, I think that you might be really interested in anthropology because she could just see my amazement with the cultural
Yeah.
diversity. And so, yeah, I started to study that and I enjoyed it. mostly. I knew it wasn't really what I wanted to be pursuing,
Right.
but I did it. And I like so distinctly remember a conversation with my parents where they were like, you need to go to university. Like that is non-negotiable. Like you need to go. Um, and I did it
Yeah.
because I didn't, of course, what are you going to do? Your parents tell you you have to do something and you do it.
Right.
And so anyways, so I did 3 years of that and then decided that studying anthropology wasn't really going to give me a future that I like a career. So I added on another degree of
Okay.
international relations, which
That's
again
nice.
in hindsight was a terrible decision. But it
Really?
was interesting. Yeah, like I mean it wasn't what I wanted to do. Like it wasn't aligned with my dharma, my goal, my essence, my life path. Like it wasn't aligned. It was okay, well, either I, maybe add another degree or I do my master's, but if I do my master's in anthropology, what is that going to give me? So I might as well diversify. Um, so, anyways, I added that on. And I also declared a minor in religious studies because I did enjoy so much about,
Yeah.
learning religion. Um, but then I took another gap year and I went traveling through Southeast Asia this time for 9 months. And it
Wow.
was incredible. And that's where I did my yoga teacher training.
Mm.
And so in that yoga teacher training, I was like, okay, this is what I want to be doing. Like it is in the community work, it's in the healing, it's in the like validation of like the internal world. Like yoga is so much more than just our
Right.
physical body. And um it just was so beautiful for me. And so anyways, after that I went back to university to finish my now 2 degrees and minor.
Nice.
And I taught yoga throughout it, like a great part-time job while in school.
Hmm.
And absolutely my saving grace because the longer I was in school, going down this path that was not really what I wanted to be doing, my mental health deteriorated so terribly.
Mm.
And so I ended up graduating or I think it was the year before I graduated, I just was in such a severe depression. And I never in my life thought that I would like be a person that would say like, I have depression. And I
Yeah.
was on antidepressants and I just like couldn't believe that I never saw that for myself. And I'm
Right.
sure so many people that are in that state don't see that for themselves. Um, but my mental state was such a direct correlation to university. And it was like this soul sucking situation that literally drained the life out of me. And that was just like so, I actually heard this thing the other day. I was reading a book called When Women or If Women Rose Rooted by Sharon Blackie.
Mm.
And in it, she writes about kind of like grappling with the grief that you've caused yourself. And like now being 30, I can look back on that and I can be like, I knew it wasn't right for me. And like I've had to grieve these decisions and like the outcome of that. But that being said, like that's of course me being 30, being able to see that situation. But when I was in it, I was just like, well, my parents are making me do this,
Right.
or I need to do this because it's important for them. And well, if I don't do it, like if I don't have a university degree, I'm worthless. I'm, not valuable. I
Mm.
need this in order to stand out in the world.
Right.
And, these narratives that were taught to me that
Yeah.
are false. Like
Yeah.
now I see that and I'm like, why didn't I just say I'm stopping? Like I'm going to recalibrate,
Yeah.
reevaluate, seek out appropriate support in terms of like career counseling.
Yeah.
Um,
So when was it the point where you felt like, okay, so I'm gonna go back a little bit.
yeah,
When you traveled to Southeast Asia, that was a gap year before you went to university, like
yeah,
after high school?
yes.
Okay, gotcha. And do you feel like if you never took that trip in Southeast Asia, would you have like studied anthropology, or maybe would you have gone into maybe like business or medical? Because at that point, would you feel like I was university something that was important to you or not? Or you would have felt like, well, everyone's doing it after they graduate high school, I might as well. But since you
Such
got
good
like
questions.
yeah, so since you got that experience like traveling, you now
Mhm.
realize there's more outside of that.
Yeah. Oh, that is, oh, wow. I've never thought of that before,
Yeah.
in that way. Yeah, because I know like I decisively took that gap year. All of my other friends were going into university and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like I'm not ready for that. And I came back and I still was like, I'm not ready for this. Which is yeah, yeah, I was still not ready for it. I still didn't know. But yeah, I think for sure I went into anthropology only because of this like worldly experience that I had had. I think that if I didn't go to university or if I didn't go to Southeast Asia, if I didn't take that trip, I probably would have worked for a while I figured it out. I don't know. I've never thought of that, but
The reason why I
it's
was
not. Mhm.
asking is that, a lot of times after 18, we're so used to being told what to do that we just kind of follow in line of what everybody else is doing. And then that's when it
Yeah,
reaches like 25, where we've done all the stuff, we graduated, we got our masters, and we're finally working. And that first year, we're like, is this what it is? Like, is this? And then that's when we
totally.
start the reevaluation. But you may have experienced it firsthand because you went out in the world uh, without all the accolades or without all the university and stuff. And you might have felt in moments like, oh, maybe I'm behind, like I should be in university. Was that ever even like a moment thought where you were like, I'm living my best life in India and Thailand? You can't tell me nothing. You guys are in school studying like lame. Was it ever like,
Well, no, totally. And I've absolutely felt both of those things because on one side of it, I was like, like suckers, like that sucks. You're in school
yeah,
right now, and I'm literally like, like in the middle of like rural India, eating samosas on the side of the road, sitting in community with these people that don't even speak the same language, yet we are the same people, like that kind of education, that kind of experience was like so beyond what my peers were getting.
mm-hmm.
And I know that there were also like I I mean, even still, I'm just like, I've been in school from like I just graduated with homeopathy a few months ago. So I've been in school for like 10 years now.
Wow.
And I have so many of those peers that are on like their fourth child,
Mhm.
or like they're on their second house.
Yeah.
And so for sure there's like both sides of like I don't have that financial stability that they do. I don't have that, but also that's not who I am. Like I see that with such clarity now, which again is like I look back on my university years and it's like that could have been so different because I knew that that wasn't for me. I
Right.
knew that wasn't the path for me. I knew that was my family's expectation of me, and
Yeah.
I knew that that's what society does. That's what my peers were doing, and I
Mm.
and I totally fell victim to that pressure.
Do you
Hmm.
ever look now that you've done, the 10 years of schooling and think that it wasn't me, but I've learned something that I can take now into where I want to go? Or you feel like with all of it, it was just pointless?
Yeah, great question.
Because you've
I
done
think
yeah, you said you did a
so.
minor.
I have
and-
2 degrees with a minor, and then I also went back to school for homeopathy. So I have also have a diploma in that. So
Yeah, so you've done more. You did quite some degrees.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
So,
So okay, so there's like the answer that I give that's like
hmm,
my mental health preservation answer, which is of course I've learned a lot. Of course
right.
it was, there's a silver lining to all of that. But the real answer is that it should have and it could have been done so differently.
Mm,
And I spent a lot of time blaming other people for that, mostly my parents. But I now realize because so now I'll come back to that answer. But so after graduating and after getting my mental health back on track, and like honestly, I graduated and like within a month I was off antidepressants and I like spent the time doing the work to like get myself out of that. And so that would have been in 2020. And then in 2021, I went back to school for homeopathy because I was like, I know what I want to pursue. And it is
Right.
like the healing arts. It's always been that. It's been supporting reproductive health. Like those are my passions. It always has been. And like health advocacy, body advocacy, sexual health. Um, and I know for a fact if somebody asked me when I was 18, what do you want to do? I would be, I would have those same answers. I just didn't know the like expression that they could take. So now that I am a homeopath, I am, as weird as this is going to sound, I am grateful to have had the experience of depression because I know what it feels like. And I know how to care for people that now see me that have depression. And I also, I mean, there, like, I also had experienced a sexual assault when I was in university. And that too, I will never say I'm grateful for that, but it does give me a certain level of compassion and clarity for understanding the complexities of these kinds of situations and the care that they require. And then also with anthropology, I think that is the degree that I am grateful for and that I loved very much because it showed me just how diverse the world is and how diverse every single person's worldview is. And so again, like now I have a patient in front of me and they tell me something. If I didn't have that degree and that understanding, I'm sure that I would look at people a lot different, being like, well, how could you possibly think that? Or why do you think that? And instead, now I'm like, okay, you think that. Let's work within that framework.
Yeah.
So, very long-winded answer to your question. But
Yeah.
it's complicated. It's so complex, right? Especially because you can't go back into your past and change those decisions. You
Right.
know, my path was what it was, and I'm obviously going to be making the best of it now. But I also know that when I have children and they're faced with similar life decision times,
Hmm.
I will provide them with all of the resources I could possibly find. And I will not put pressure on them to do one thing or another because I know what that did for me. And it was really harmful.
Yeah. I feel like I've heard this a lot because I'm still in my 20s, and it they say your 20s is just a time to explore. Do you feel like now looking back, that's what you did, even though that you explored in probably ways you didn't want to at the time and didn't really connect with yourself to say this is something I didn't want to do, or stand bold in making this the decision of I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do this despite what people expect of me. Uh, do you still feel like you explored, or you don't count
I think
university as exploring?
no, I explored with a lot of things. Like I explored with my body. I
Mhm.
explored, with friends, like
Mhm.
friend groups. I explored with different classes. And for sure, like that, some of my favorite classes were like medical anthropology or the anthropology of HIV and AIDS. Again, like, well, that's obviously in line with what I'm
Yeah.
interested in and pursuing now.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I think that I think that I was so scared to disappoint my family. And I was so scared to disappoint the people around me that
Mhm.
I was ignoring my inner voice and my intuition.
Mm.
And I think that's
So
exactly,
common.
yeah, it's so common. And that leads to things like depression.
Yeah.
Like it does, And it leads to being disassociated from your body. It's the opposite of embodiment. And yeah, I don't know. I just like I've spent a lot of time, quite frankly, a lot of therapy, sorting through exactly what we're talking about today. And I just like the second I let go of my parents' expectations, I have flourished in life.
Wow. Wow. So
Yeah.
what you mentioned is so true because, like I mentioned before, our whole life has people talking down on us because you're younger, right? So you're
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
exploring, you're still trying to figure out who you are as a person. And you're going based on your cultural background, your environment, your language, the where you grew up, your accolades, school. So everything is being told of who you are. And,
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody else that 20 is like the new age of yourself. Like
Mhm.
20 is zero, it's your baby. 21 is one, 22 is two. So
Love
typically
that.
by 25, it's the age where, you're like a kindergarten, you're exploring how to read and all that stuff. So the same thing, like in your 20s, 25 is where you're starting to explore, like, who am I? They love to say
Mhm.
your prefrontal cortex is developing.
Yeah, totally,
So,
totally.
so now that you're 10, technically because you're 30,
Yeah, yeah.
playing that game, you look to speak to a student who feels that their parents are, if I don't get this degree, if I don't get this, then my life's ruined. I'm getting kicked out the house. I don't have a name for myself. I don't have anything. I need my parents. I need to live up to the expectations because that's who I am.
Mhm.
What ways would you tell them to seek who they are or how to listen to their
Ooh.
intuition now that you, because I think sometimes even depression, yeah, it is also a medical, condition, a condition, but there's sometimes like sadness that we confuse with depression, or as you mentioned,
Mhm.
dissociation. That's our body speaking to us saying, hey,
Yes.
you know
Yes.
there's something going on. You need to acknowledge it. This is your younger self, feeling disconnected with you or needing to be heard. So, what ways would you help? I would say give advice or tell someone who's younger that feels like, how did you get to that point? How did you just say, forget my parents' expectations? I'm moving with what I want to do.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like for me, it happened when I was absolutely broken. Like it was a, like I absolutely just, I had to. And so, yeah, I hope that like, maybe there's somebody that is listening to this that like doesn't need to get to that
Mhm.
point. But what I can say is that it is not as scary as you think it is to disappoint people.
Right.
Like I like that has terrified me. And even now I still like catch myself like, oh, I don't want to let this person down. And it's like, well, do I want to let myself down?
Mm.
Like you are the one that matters. And that's not in like a selfish, self-centered, negative kind of way. That isn't a reality of you are the one that is living your life. You are in your body. And if your body is telling you things like in the form of, a diagnosable condition, hopefully it doesn't get to that point. But even if you are just like, if you are not aligned, you know it. And you need to spend that time with yourself and really be honest and raw with yourself and figure out what your voice is versus what are the voices that are told to you.
Hmm.
And yeah, like it just like it is like it's terrifying for sure, but it's like the amount of freedom that I have felt
Yeah.
being like, you know what? It's okay if my parents don't like me. It's okay if my parents aren't proud of me because I'm proud of me,
Hmm.
you know? And I'm so proud of me. My husband is proud of me. And I feel more fulfilled now, ever than ever in my life. And yeah, and quite frankly, these days, my parents don't even really know what my life is, and they don't really know. And that is sad in a lot of ways, but it's also freeing in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And I've just like had to work at finding those like parent figures or like the people that will be proud of me or the people that will support me in different ways. And so it's it's for sure like a reworking or a reorganizing um, of your life and your people, but it's worth it because
Right.
now I feel loved and I feel like I can move through the world being who I actually am and
Mm.
not be worried about disappointing because I'm not disappointed by myself.
Mhm. I always say you come together with yourself. Okay, this is weird. Hold on. You come into the world with yourself. and you leave the world with yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think, you still want to respect your parents. You don't want to like,
for
oh,
sure.
forget, for any parent, for any child listening, and it's just like, yeah, you see that? Forget you,
Yeah.
mom. See
No, for
that?
sure.
Paige
And there
said.
is a way. And like I respect my parents very much, and we do
Yeah,
still have a good relationship, but it's not a relationship that I am drowning in anymore. It's
yeah.
not a relationship that I am crushed under the weight of expectation. It is
Hmm.
a relationship that I'm like, I'll take it or leave it. This is who I am and these are my choices.
Right.
And there's distance there, but it's a positive relationship now.
Yeah. It's like they
So
see you now as your own person rather than
yeah,
you're my child, you need to do what I say kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, but that's
But
that's
yeah, it's interesting because you like there for sure comes a time where it's like, okay, well, am I a child or am I an adult? Like, am I self-sufficient? And it's like even at 30, it's like I said before, like I can't believe I'm 30, but like, no, I'm a full-grown woman, Like
yeah.
I'm married, like I am, but I still and I think that there will always be a part of me that still feels like a child and still, wants my mommy,
Hmm.
truthfully. And I think every human goes through that. And the sooner that you can be like, actually, I am in control of my own life and I am autonomous and I get to call the shots here. I think the sooner that you can step into your dharma, your true path in this life.
Hmm. Your purpose. Your purpose for sure. That's amazing,
Hmm.
Paige. Now when you say that, okay, so just to piggyback just a little on what you said. So let's say I identified that I don't want to live up to the expectations. I want to go my own way. What are the next steps? Like I'm still working. I still got to go to school.
Hmm.
Like what do I do now? Just drop out? Like what would you say the next steps are? I guess before you answer, I would say is start looking at ways where you can get there or start talking to people that
Hmm.
are already there.
Great.
Start making plans, like journal, plan
Hmm.
instead of just abruptly just being like, all right, screw it. Like I'm going to
For sure.
because
For sure.
that
Yeah.
screw it will make you reconsider everything and everybody's already like saying
Yeah, for
opposite.
sure.
So
For sure.
you're gonna lose
Yeah,
it.
I think like a really good place to start is just journaling of like what really matters to me. What is important in life? What are my passions? And not necessarily like well, I like to crochet. Such
Yeah.
a silly example, but it's not like that, but it's like, well, what do I like about crocheting? Oh, I like being creative. Oh, I like that I can do it anywhere. I like that it's something with my hands. I can make things for other people, like really distilling the qualities of the things that you like and figure out where those qualities can like fit in the sense of like, yeah, career or schooling or how you will take care of yourself. And are you the kind of person that wants a 9 to 5 job? Will that make you happy? Do you actually want something that will afford you flexibility? Um, do you want children? How does that fit into your
Mhm.
career? Like just really ask the questions of what do I want? If nobody else, was paying attention or telling me things, what do I want? And then seeking out resources. Like I'm such an advocate for therapy. Like I think everybody needs a therapist, a
Mhm.
third party person that will just like be that sounding board for you and help give you direction or help you distill those thoughts. And then a career counselor.
Yeah.
I really, really wish that I would have seen one when I was like 18, because I am certain that my education would have looked very, very different if I had done that.
Wow. Okay. I think those are good tips. So please, y'all, take initiative
Hmm.
to learn to just look at yourself as a not I wouldn't say a project, but take it serious on who you are and really break
Yeah.
down where you want to be. So, Paige, now that you're in your 30s or you just got to 30, um, how was that transition saying goodbye to your 20s?
Oof.
Even though it's always going to be a part of you, but your late
Oh
teens,
yeah.
because there's definitely a lot of people who are, in their late 20s and they're fearful for their 30s. They
Yeah,
haven't
no.
hit the milestones that everybody puts on them to achieve by 30. So they're not a
Hmm.
billionaire, as some crazy people feel like they need to be. If you want to be a billionaire, great, but like, that's there's a lot of learning in
Yeah.
your you gotta do.
Yeah.
But how was that? Or what advice would you give to somebody uh going into their
Yeah. I I welcomed it so wholeheartedly. So I'll just share this because I think it's like, I don't know, kind of funny that I did it. But um I had super, super, super long hair, like down to my hips, like super long hair. And within a few days of turning 30, I chopped it all off like above my chin, like super, super short. And it just was like such this like symbolic, like I'm ready to let go of the weight of
wow.
that. And it was so fun. I had this like amazing hairdresser and he was just like celebrating it with me. It's like, yes. But no, the 20s, like I loved for so many reasons. And I loved the versions of me that I was. And I grew so much and I learned so much. But I am really happy to be where I am now. And like I just got married last year. It's the love of my life. And like we are just, like I just feel like I've finally just like I can breathe. Like I can exhale and I can just be with my feet on the earth and just be who I am. And so coming into 30s is like I don't need to try and be someone I'm not. I can just really be who I am now. And I really think that this decade, well, and the rest of my life, but this decade is where I get to reap the rewards of all of the seeds sown in my 20s.
Wow. So blossom year. Would you say that
Hell
blossom
yeah.
decade? I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I as much as okay, so I'm 24, but I'm on social media and I hear everyone talk about how 30s are like the years. Like it's the
Yeah.
way. And I'm like, okay, like I'm not trying to rush to 30, but
Yeah.
I would
And you
already
know what?
know what the feeling is.
It's so funny because I just like shake my head at like how real all the memes are. I was like, I'll never go to bed at 9 o'clock on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And like every Friday, it's like maybe even 8:30. The 30s
Yeah.
are good. They're restful and nourishing and
Mm.
comfortable. And there's a lot of really great things about it. But there's also a lot of great things about the 20s. So
Yeah. I
such
think
is life, right?
exactly. Life is just honestly, each phase is just a learning process. We're all just trying to figure out, every day. So it's
Yeah.
amazing. So now looking, now that, you shared a little bit about your 20s, what advice would you give each phase of your 20s? So early 20s, or we can even say like 18 to 22, because I feel like that's early 20s, mid 20s, 23 to 26, and then late 20s, 27 to 29. What advice would you give each version of Paige?
Okay. The like late teens, early 20s, I would say take more time to figure out what you want.
Mm,
The next one, I would say respect your body more
okay.
and really like what are the things that you're doing and what need are you trying to meet? Whether it's relationships, encounters, or alcohol or food, like all of these actions have a need that they're trying to meet, and it's not always the healthiest. So,
Mm,
yeah, just like respect yourself. Um, and then the next little chunk, the like I think you said like 24 to 26, something like that.
well,
Um,
mid 20s, yeah.
mid 20s. Um, be gentle and kind to yourself.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
And, yeah. And then late 20s, I just feel like just rip the band-aid off. Like just just
Done.
just rip the band-aid off, be yourself, like just be done with the things that make you feel terrible about yourself.
Hmm. Even comparison, right? Because that's pretty common around that time.
Oh, comparison is atrocious. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's amazing. And I'm pretty sure each version of your 20s would be proud of you now. Like, we made it.
Absolutely. And it's like I have so much love for myself in all of those times. And like I for sure like have triggers where there are those wounded parts of me that rear the ugly hurt today. And I am getting really good at loving those. So
That's amazing.
yeah. Just know that your future self will love you a lot.
Oh, I'm excited to meet her.
Yeah. She's gonna be good. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Paige, this has been great. Your story's amazing. You've shared so much great insight. Ripping the band-aid off could be a testament to the whole conversation. And,
Yes.
I'm just, I really hope someone can take this knowledge and really apply it to their life and really listen. That was something you said the most about listening to yourself, uh, following, connecting to who you are. So, how can we connect with you, Paige? If
Yeah.
anybody wanted to, book a session with you or really get to know you
Mhm.
on a personal level and talk further about your journey and connect with you,
Yeah.
what ways you can reach out
Yeah.
to you? Your email, social
Yeah.
media.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I am so happy to connect. I am clearly such an advocate for listening to yourself and being an autonomous person. So, I'm always happy to offer any support that I can. My website is the hub of all of it, healinghuman.ca. Um, and yeah, from there you can find my Instagram, which is also at underscore healing human. I write a pretty frequent Substack, um, which is also linked to my website, and I talk a lot about growth and all of the things in depth that we've kind of talked about today. Just being a healing human, and it's not constant, and so I write a lot about that. But yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody who is wanting to really listen to themselves
Mhm.
more and yeah, and I will advocate a lot for yoga and meditation. I know that it's such like maybe overused advice, but like really
Mhm.
those have been the practices that have allowed me to really find my purpose and find myself.
Mhm. Wow.
So yeah.
Okay, y'all. Well, connect with Paige. You guys can
Yeah,
go on her website, healinghuman.ca, right?
yeah,
Perfect.
you got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure to talk with you, Paige. Uh,
Thanks for having me.
of course, of course. Well, I wish you the best on your journey of your blossoming 30s. And if anybody wants to connect with her, you guys hear healinghuman.ca. And thank you all for listening to this episode of In Your 20s podcast. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.